Europe is in the middle of a hybrid war waged by Russia and the continent must arm itself, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned on Wednesday as she hosted a summit of European Union leaders in Copenhagen. According to Associated Press, the leaders pushed for stronger industry and defense, as they face the greatest security challenge since the end of the Second World War, Frederiksen said in her address. We have to be able to defend ourselves. And the purpose of the informal European Council later on today is actually to assure that we can achieve that. So we need to translate military needs into very concrete deliveries from you. Our ability to scale up production, she said. The summit comes after a spate of troubling drone incidents at Danish airports and military bases over the last week. Ahead of the meeting, a special radar system was set up at Copenhagen airport to help keep watch. Unidentified drones forced the closure of the airfield a week ago, causing major disruptions. France, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden and the UK also sent aircraft, ships and air defense systems to Denmark ahead of the summits. Ukraine's armed forces have dispatched a mission to the Nordic country for joint exercises, sharing its expertise on combating Russian drones. Russia is the focus of Wednesday's summit, where discussions are expected to center on how to prepare Europe to fend off Russian aggression by 2030, especially as the United States turns its focus on security concerns in Asia and elsewhere. Ukraine also tops the agenda, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski is due to address the EU leaders by video link. Leaders and intelligence services believe that Russia could mount an assault elsewhere in Europe in 3 to 5 years, and that President Vladimir Putin is intent on testing NATO as doubts swirl about US President Donald Trump's commitment to the organization. On September 10, when several Russian drones breached Poland's airspace, NATO aircraft were scrambled to intercept and shoot down some of the devices. It was the first direct encounter between NATO and Moscow since Russia launched its war on Ukraine on February 24, 2022. The incident jolted leaders across Europe, raising questions about how prepared the alliance is against Russia. Days later, NATO jets escorted 3 Russian warplanes out of Estonia's airspace. The EU talks on Ukraine will focus on continued military and financial support for the conflict-ravaged country, as funds, weapons, and ammunition once provided by the United States dry up. A new proposal to use frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine will be discussed, as well as its prospects of joining the EU.
And we have to increase the pressure on Russia. And this is why I have proposed reparation loans for Ukraine on the basis of the immobilized Russian assets. We are not confiscating the assets, but we are taking the cash balances for loan to Ukraine. Ukraine has to pay back this loan if Russia pays reparations, because the perpetrator has to be held accountable. There's a growing consensus among us that it's not only the European taxpayers that should pay for the support to Ukraine, but that Russia has to be held accountable. Russia is the perpetrator, it has caused the damage, and it has to be held accountable. And I think we have now a sound legal way to do this with the proposals of the reparations law.
Good morning, Prime Minister. How united are...
Of course, there are some legal questions that has to be asked, and I'm confident that we will find a way through this. But the whole idea of using the frozen assets, I think, is a good idea. I am very happy to see that the defense industry is so well represented here today. with the war going on in Europe, we face, and I know that everybody knows that now, we face the greatest security challenge since the end of the Second World War, hybrid warfare and violations of NATO's airspace. So we have to be able to defend ourselves. And the purpose of the informal European Council later on today is actually to assure that we can achieve that. So we need to translate military needs into very concrete deliveries from you. Our ability to scale up production.
Shared commitment towards a more secure and competitive Europe.
Innovation. Quantum, AI, healthcare, defense, green tech, on these 5 sectors which are key to deliver our common agenda, we have to innovate much more. It's all about talents. We have the talents, we train them, we want to keep them. Scale. So on these key issues, this is where we have to focus clearly our energy to reduce the barriers. Speed. And everywhere we are lagging behind China and or US in terms of legal timelines, we will lose. And finance.
Such a big group of the biggest companies.
And my last point is about European preference. It was till recently an awful word, totally impossible to be pronounced in a business meeting. But this is a necessity, because we are the unique crazy place where we don't protect our domestic players. In the US, you have a US agenda. In China, it's no more Chinese preference. It's a Chinese exclusivity sometimes. In Europe, this is the only place where you can finance with the taxpayer money 100% non-European players. This is the only place where you put regulations on your players, but at the same time you negotiate the lifting of barriers with non-European players with a double standard.
This is to proceed to the designated area. It sounds like I'm in a...
On defense, it's historic what happened in the last month on the European level, of course in close cooperation with NATO. But because the situation is as it is absolutely necessary that we have a massive surge in defense investment. This is why we enabled up to 800 billion of investment till 2030. The buzzwords are safe, the joint procurement, and the national escape clause. And there's an omnibus for defense that is on its road, the simplification in the defense sector, where the defense sector is asking for to be able to scale up and to produce faster and cheaper.